Well, I'm speaking today with Jessie Scott, who's the Chief Innovation and Growth Officer for GrainCorp. Thank you so much for speaking with Australian Rural and Regional News, Jessie.
Thank you for making the time.
Now, your corporate experience in strategy and transformation seems to have been a significant factor in your still fairly recent appointment as GrainCorp's Chief Innovation and Growth Officer. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us, what would you say are the key experiences and achievements that you've had in the past that make you the right person to do what GrainCorp wants you to do now?
Excellent. We'll talk about what GrainCorp wants to do now, which is this pathway focused on partnering with the grower. And so we talk a lot about kind of improving our core returns, but also pursuing different growth themes to kind of better partner with the grower, because our sense is a happier, more productive, more profitable farmer is good for the farmer and is good for us. And so when Robert was talking to me about this role, he was looking for someone who combined a bit of innovation and kind of growth thinking with a strong backbone in being able to work in corporate environments like this and get stuff done. And so with McKinsey, I led the agriculture practice there for kind of the previous 5 years before joining GrainCorp. But before that, I spent almost 10 years kind of helping build and run the transformation practice, which was all about helping companies achieve these what felt like astronomical objectives and aspirations, and working deep into the organization to make them happen over the course of months and even years. So my hope is that in my role with GrainCorp, which I'm extremely excited to be doing, that is what I can do. I can start to work with all the pockets of GrainCorp, and there's great pockets of kind of innovation and interesting stuff happening, and scale those and make them move more quickly and kind of bring innovation from the outside of the company into GrainCorp. This could not have been a better time for me to join GrainCorp. We're coming off the back of a bumper harvest. We have unparalleled relationship with growers all up and down the East Coast there. We have the ability to leverage what is an unparalleled set of assets. We have receival and supply chain assets all the way from kind of Queensland down to Victoria there. And we're able to kind of partner with growers to kind of maximize the value of their grain and kind of connect those with both domestic and international customers. But people, I think about GrainCorp as a bulk handling business. We also have very strong kind of processing and food businesses there, and animal feeds business. We're working on interesting topics like how do we do a better job of interacting with used cooking oil? How do we support companies like FutureFeed on Asparagopsis? So I think it's leveraging that strong backbone of assets that have been here for 100 years and have been developed with all the new areas we're trying to explore together.
Tell me, why and how does GrainCorp believe it needs to change or develop?
I mean, I think GrainCorp has been, frankly, kind of changing and innovating for decades. I think now is a great time to take that next step, though. If you look at kind of alternative protein, which is one of the areas we're thinking about, alternative protein is this small part of the Australian economy where if you go to your local supermarket, you may see some of those alternative meat products on the shelves there, or you may see some kind of plant-based inputs into nutritional drinks, whatever it may be. But it's a tiny market. The sense is that thing is going to grow 20-fold in the next 5 years. And that is a market that is all about kind of gathering plants, crushing them and turning them into food, which is what we have been doing from our foundation. This seems like a time, well, great, this is a brand new industry, it's enormously exciting, great for the planet, great for Australian industry, we can be in the center of that. And there are a couple of other areas like that are so right for GrainCorp to play a major role in.
So that's alternative protein. Are you able to talk about any of the other strategies that they have to achieve these objectives? What other new projects that are planned or underway even?
Sure. I mean, we're kind of quite public about the investment we've made in FutureFeed. So FutureFeed is a company that is focused on the Asparagopsis industry. Asparagopsis is that red seaweed that if you feed it to kind of all sorts of animals, but let's say kind of cows, is this miracle product. You kind of feed this stuff to cows and it completely eliminates methane, somewhere between 90% and completely eliminates methane, but also improves the feed efficiency. So if we can find a way to kind of grow and harvest that seaweed and get it into animal feed, you suddenly have an Australian livestock and a global livestock industry that firstly has a great carbon footprint and secondly is far more efficient. And so we are playing this role of FutureFeed, but that's just the beginning of what that could look like.
Okay, and how long has FutureFeed been going along for? How long have you been involved in that?
It's been going for a couple of years now, so we're looking kind of second, third year of that, and a couple of the kind of great partners in FutureFeed there. There are a bunch of Australian companies that are focusing on how do you grow seaweed at scale, how do you kind of formulate it into animal feed, and how do you kind of distribute it all over. And the focus on the moment is cows, but it'll be used equally easily for sheep and other livestock there. It is an exciting time for that industry.
Could you just tell me a little bit more about GrainCorp's ambitions with alternative protein?
Sure, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, alternative protein is all about plants. So I think there's a sense here we already interact with over 10,000 growers every year as we kind of work with them on collecting their kind of grains and oil seeds. We currently handle some of the kind of pulse products, but these alternative protein kind of offerings you see on the market, they tend to be coming from soybeans, from peas, a little bit of canola is being used. And so how do we work with the growers to help them pick the right crop, grow it, we can be their supply chain partner, and start to work with some of the alternative protein companies who are kind of putting the burgers and the minces and the meats on the shelf and help connect those two groups there. Because it goes back to that kind of partner to the grower. This is a sense this could be a huge opportunity for Australian farmers. And we are very happily kind of connecting the end meat producers with the growers upstream.
Now, smart agriculture, Jesse, that's a great new big buzzword. So what does GrainCorp have to do with smart agriculture at the moment? Has it sort of dipped its foot in the water there?
There's a long list of things that I was pleasantly surprised by when I joined GrainCorp, one of which is how active we've been with startups. And we've been working with a wide range of what you call kind of ag tech startups. So these are companies who do things like offer satellite imagery to help you kind of monitor crop growth and think about where to apply fertilizer and chemicals. There are startups who offer sensors that you can place either in your kind of silos and bins, or you can kind of, for us, place in our bunkers to measure the quality of grain. There's startups we work with on blockchain. So how do you kind of certify the movement of grain throughout the network? I was happily surprised to see a half dozen pilots going on across our network. And I think there's enormous potential for more of that. I can see how GrainCorp can play this role, given our access across the East Coast here, of working with all these ag tech startups to help them scale up, help them apply their technologies either in our network or with our huge kind of network of growers that we interact with all the time, to help them think about how do we apply technology to improve productivity and yield, reduce cost. Kind of even one of the things we did recently was on certifying sustainable canola through the use of kind of blockchain certification. So suddenly you can access these markets in Europe that are willing to pay a premium for kind of sustainable canola. That seems like a huge area for GrainCorp to get into. And so I think the next year is going to be the same. More working with more startups to help them scale and achieve their ambition, which will create a more innovative GrainCorp and a more productive farmer as well.
That's very exciting.